Don't ever let her bring you down, cause then you'll be on a level. Listen, I'm never giving up. Stand your ground, don't get too comfortable or too settled. Listen, I'm never giving up. When you hit rock bottom, it's only one way to go. Listen, I'm never giving up. Everybody got problems, how you handle them, no. Yeah, listen.
Hey, I'm John.
I'm Jonathan.
Welcome to the Formula.
Yo, man.
Jonathan,
What's going on with you, bro?
what's up?
Man,
What we getting into?
Man, today, man, I want to get into some. I know this might be a little controversial. I want you guys to just listen to what we're saying. We love everybody. Let me preface what we're saying here. We love everybody, man. I don't have any enemies. John don't have any enemies. Just the girls that want to marry him. And he won't marry. That's the only enemies John have. You know what I mean? You know, we lovable guys.
I don't think I have any enemies. I don't think so.
But yeah, but we do want to get into some things about the young lady that's gone missing. Now, her fiance has gone missing. Gabby Petito.
Mm-hmm.
And her fiance name is I know his last name is Laundrie.
I think first name Brian.
Brian
Yeah.
Laundrie.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting. It caught my eye. I was on TV. I was on YouTube or Facebook or something, and I just bumped into the story, and it was on Facebook. It was like an hour-long video of they talking about the situation. I didn't know the young lady before this story, and they were just talking about how she was missing. Her fiance came back home without her.
Mm-hmm.
So
they were.
Let me back up.
They were basically on a road trip, but they were visiting national parks.
Yep, all on the West Coast. They went through Wyoming. They went through Utah.
But they live in Florida. And
Yeah. So they was backpacking,
mm-hmm.
vanning. I forgot what they call it, but it was on this van trip, and they were just living their life young, and full of spirit. They were documenting this whole thing,
mm-hmm.
Which is cool. The world get to see this whole thing, and they seem like a very nice couple. Seemed like they had things in order, and then a few things started to happen. A few things started to happen. We'll go back and go through those details later. But then the young man, Brian, came back home to his parents' house. Because the girl owned the van. Came back home with the girl's van without the girl. And the parents, I don't know. It's kind of weird that the parents, I don't know what they did, but basically they hid behind their lawyers, and now the lawyers won't let the police talk to the kid, the dude,
mm-hmm.
and now he's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Now he left.
And he's officially a person of interest.
Yeah, which he should have been immediately.
Immediately, yeah.
Right? He's gone off across country with someone's daughter, and you're not a person of interest when you come back without her. And y'all, first of all, you're engaged. You're supposed to love this girl, and you come back without her.
Mm-hmm.
And if I would have came back without Alicia, dude, my grandparents would go crazy on me. Like, mm-hmm. what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Your parents and her parents.
And her parents, exactly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's wild. It's a wild story, man. It's a wild story. If you guys haven't seen anything about it, we'll discuss some more of the details here in this episode.
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't following it. Mm-hmm. Only reason I heard about it was they had it on TV at work.
Right.
And then I started getting alerts on my phone. But other than that, I haven't been following it. So when you said you want to talk about this, I'm like, oh man, I got to do homework because I didn't know what was going on. So
right.
There's so many layers.
Yes.
And so many factors to this story. Media coverage is one of them.
Yes.
Domestic violence. The idea of traveling. Who to travel with, where to travel, where to go, how to go about it. And policing, because they did having some kind of engagement with the police.
Yes. Yep.
So there are a lot of different factors to this story, and then there's Joy Ann Reid, who made the statement, missing white woman syndrome.
Yeah.
Is that what she said?
That's what she said.
So, and that kind of plays into the media, how the media covers it. So, yeah, there was just there's so many different layers, so many different factors that you have to look at. And I'll be honest, like I said, I wasn't following it.
Right. And I wasn't either came across, and I literally watched this 58-minute video. I mean, it was kind of on repeat. They was talking to different people about what was going on. So it did give me really good background about what happened before. So this was actually when they found the body. So they found the body at a national park.
In Wyoming.
So that coverage that I saw was when they found the body. They did not know it was her body at the time. They say they didn't know, but I think they knew. I mean, because the body couldn't have decomposed that fast.
Well, they want to make it official.
Right. So they knew it was
I
her
think
body.
they did the autopsy or something like that.
Right.
To confirm that it was her.
They had to take it to the coroner's office and have them do their thing to find out who it is, and pretty sure they brought in the family, identified the body. But you know what was saying. So let's go back to that interaction with the police. Okay, so there was tips. There was actually a 911 call that actually was brought up, where there was a young man called the police because they saw the young man saw Brian slapping Gabby. Right? So he called it. It's the whole 911 video and conversation. The whole 911 conversation is on YouTube. You can find it. He said, I seen a young man. They're in a white van with a black ladder on the side. He slapped her and slapped the girl. Then they got back in the van and they sped off. All right. So then the police stopped the van that they were within and talked to him about it. Did you see that part?
I didn't watch the whole video because they have body cam video.
Right. They have body cam. So they asked him what was going on. She said they was having a bad day. They actually pulled her out of the car and talked to her alone. She was crying hysterically. Just said that they was having a bad day. That she's OCD, and that she was writing his a blog and also creating a website. And she's OCD. He came into the van. They kind of went all over the place. He came into the van with his shoes on. His shoes was dirty, and she started arguing about that. And then she shifted into, he was being mean to me, basically saying he was being mean to me. He said that I'm not capable of creating this website, and he's supposed to be, cheering me on, but he's not, that type of deal, right? So So she said that she grabbed him or something like that, but nothing was mentioned about the slapping that the civilian seen. The guy Brian slapped Gabby. So if we got stopped in that situation and we had a girl in the passenger seat,
she was crying and distraught and you know, she just, you know, she was out of it.
How much different would that conversation be with the police?
Look, man, you already know.
All right,
you already know.
Let me step it up a notch because I want to keep it at the same level. Let this not be a black girl that we have in our passenger seat. Let it be the exact same race that was in the passenger seat in this situation.
Right.
Let that have been a white girl in the passenger seat, and someone seen her slap a white girl, and the police was called and told that they witnessed a black guy slapping a white girl.
I read that the police was like chucking it up with Brian. Like they were like, you know, like, I don't know, like laughing, just like they were, you know, boys who like me and you. You know what I mean?
They never mentioned a slap. They didn't question. I don't think they questioned him about slapping her.
I don't think so neither.
No.
And I think they tried to make it seem like she was crazy.
Yeah, they just like, what's going on? They're like, what's going on? What happened to your wrist? Because Brian had some scratches on his arm because they took her out first, put her in, and talked to her a little bit, put her in the squad car, and then they took him out, took the keys, put them on the roof of the car or the hood of the car or the van, and talked to him. And it was like, so what happened? Well, you know, she's just upset, blah blah blah. But how you get those scratches on your wrist? He was like, you know, we're hiking. You know, we're hiking. We've been backpacking all over the place. You know, that just happened during that. That was about all.
The main reason we're bringing this up with the police interaction is because that's an opportunity where had they had better training or had they just done their job a little better, they could have saved her life.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's really the point of it is that, and sure, we could always bring race into everything.
Right.
Because you would be treated differently, I would be treated differently,
right.
Especially in that state, especially in that area,
especially in that area,
and especially
what you doing out here?
especially if there's an interracial couple,
right?
So, yeah, and then it's the same thing with the media and how they covered this story as opposed to all the black people that are missing in this country.
Yeah.
And how that's getting very little to no coverage. But the police had an opportunity to at least call in a professional. Hey, this seems like domestic violence. Let's get, you know, some kind of counselor, somebody. Let's call somebody up over here, you know, to assess the situation. And as far as I know, none of that happened.
Right.
And then, you know, she ends up dead.
Right.
So
and the guys, when black people talk about these types of issues, how it's treated differently between the lines, it's not for us. For us, it's not a black-white thing. It's a right or wrong thing. Right? You want us to do this, you know, walk this line, you know, that we walk that line all the time, right? You know, most of us would rather comply because we know what the end result is if we don't comply, right? And then on the other end, the other side, like, they do have that privilege as a white person to actually go back, you know, contest the police, talk back to the police.
They can pretty much do whatever they want.
We can't talk back to police because they treat us like they're our parents. Like, don't talk back to me.
Right.
We've been told that all our lives.
Right.
You know what I mean? So most of us don't talk back. We just go along with it. You feel what I'm saying? Which sucks too. And but it's not a black or white thing. It's a right or wrong thing. It's
if you just treat everybody the same.
Yes.
That's all. We don't want special treatment.
Right.
Just if you're gonna treat Brian this way, treat John this way, treat Jonathan that way.
Right.
It's same thing.
Yeah, because if you have the training, right, that training shouldn't change. That training says when you walk up to a person, I think it says that anyway, but I don't think it says when you walk up to a black person, do it this way.
Right.
But when you walk up to a white person, do it this way.
Do it another way. Right.
Wear white gloves when you walk up to a white person. When you walk up to a black person, get your gun out because they're going. I mean, is it trained that way or something?
I mean, what else? What other conclusion can we come to?
Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, it's not a black or white thing, fellas and ladies and gentlemen, Americans. It's supposed to be an American thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
America, you love America. Well, do the things that America you're supposed to stand for. Don't do the cover up. The cover up America.
Mm-hmm.
Do what the Stars and Stripes supposed to stand for, and that's treat everybody different.
And it is.
Treat everybody the same.
And in that light, what I've read was that there are a lot of Native American women who are missing in the state of Wyoming.
Right. No coverage.
Very little to no coverage, and they, as far as law enforcement, they don't really approach those cases the same way as, if it's a white victim.
Right. I mean, there's so many cases out here that you guys can do the research and find them. Like there's not even just missing. Just how about the young man that died at his high school? He got rolled up into a wrestling mat, right? And they called it a suicide. So supposedly the people that may be involved in it, the kids that may have been involved in it, their dad is part of law enforcement in some way. So they just chalked it up, put it under the rug, rolled it up in the rug.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And just threw it away as a suicide. And this family is still fighting to get the truth about what happened to their child. But they didn't cover it. I mean, it wasn't a sob story. I mean, this is a young man, haven't even started his life yet, but they didn't have any compassion for him. You know what I mean?
Meanwhile, Gabrielle Petito gets all this coverage nationwide.
Yes, and I'm serious. I've watched an hour-long video of them just saying the same thing, but it was coverage for the people that they want to cover. So
when Joy Reid said missing white woman syndrome, do you agree?
Oh, I mean, that's evident.
It's pretty evident.
I mean, come on, man. We watch the news. I mean, some people don't.
I've never seen this kind of coverage for any person of color.
No, absolutely not.
Never.
Absolutely not. Like I was doing research on like coverage on missing people of coverage. I literally did that research, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the local news, for one. They said it, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
It's an ongoing search for such and such. And then
they left it alone.
They left it alone. That's it. Never heard. I couldn't find any subsequent videos after that.
There was no follow up.
No follow up.
Mm-hmm.
So, like with this coverage, like, and at any time it is a white person missing in this kind of manner, I mean, it's covered like it's crazy. It's covered. I mean, they're in Florida, marsh areas, and trying to find this guy, and
I heard people were at their house, at his house.
Oh yes, they're at his house. Rightfully so. I think so.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with these things should be covered this way.
Yep.
They should be covered this
All
way.
of them should be.
But all of them should be
Yes.
covered this way. Yeah.
Because guess what? I'm sure there was a bunch of black people at someone's house. If it was black people that would be there too. So would that get covered the same way? No, because it's happened.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and you talked about like the coverage is just it's all over the place.
All over.
So it is. How do you feel about that? Do you think it's fair for her to say that it's the white woman, white missing woman?
Joy-Ann Reid, and don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily like her, and I don't agree with her really on damn near anything, but she made a point. She made a point, and I think her point is valid. But she's getting a lot of backlash for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, all we're doing is speaking our truth.
Right.
And this is our truth. We don't get this kind of coverage. Latino women, Native American, none of us get this kind of coverage.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a fact of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a fact. You can't dispute that.
Yeah, it take like Vice TV to go in there and cover the indigenous women that's getting missing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not the national television, not CNN, not Fox News, Fox and Friends.
Right.
Those guys ain't talking about that.
Right.
Because they don't care about that. They care about what they care about.
And that's the thing. I don't know how they decide who gets this kind of coverage and who doesn't. Because I don't know. It's just the way they portray Gabrielle. I don't know. It's just this whole story is just. But we've seen this before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've seen this before. So that's why I think I've been like desensitized. Because it's like, okay, another white girl missing. And it's like, I hate to say it this way, but I didn't care. I just didn't care. I don't know how to, you know what I mean? It's just, we've seen this before. We see so many of these stories, and it doesn't seem like, anybody's really doing anything about domestic violence. Well, at least not enough. It's, domestic violence should get more coverage. And more attention. And human trafficking is another thing that should get a lot more coverage. And I don't know what our government, if they're doing anything, if they're not doing anything. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. So
yeah, I think that kind of coverage will actually help tamper that down, the human trafficking and maybe the domestic violence as well. You know what I mean? Maybe people will think more about what they're doing if they're going to get covered or they're going to jail. You know what I mean? Because, like, this guy, he had to feel like that he could just go back home and everything's going to be all right.
More than likely, yeah.
And his family did nothing. Like, another interesting part of this story when it goes back to his family. So he went home. I'm pretty sure told them what happened, right? They lawyered up, or probably already had a lawyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference between what happens if it was a white person, if they're rich, white, and they can hide behind money.
And
right?
they have the money. They have the resources.
Yep, they have the resources, right? And then a black person that don't have any of those resources, they would have just went and kicked his door down, brought him out.
Probably.
Right? Because he don't have a lawyer that's telling the police, don't go bother my client. All right? But this kid went home, chilled for a little bit. His parents allowed him to leave on his own. So he drove his Mustang to this Florida National Park, wherever this marshland is, right? He didn't come home. the family went to pick up the Mustang and brought it home. And then called the police. Was like, I'm worried about him. He hasn't come home yet. After they didn't leave his car there. They just went and picked his car up. Like it was like a drop off without dropping him off, and brought his car back home.
That they looking hella suspect.
That is mad suspect.
They
bro.
looking hella suspect.
That's aiding and abetting at its finest to me.
That's very suspect.
It was.
And as of the time we're recording, they haven't found him yet.
They haven't found him yet. Nope, they haven't found him. But when I watched the video when the sheriff or the spokesperson announced that they actually found a body, but they have to confirm that confirm who it was. But like the first thing he said was like, first of all, I'd like to send my condolences to Gabby's family, and I'm like, yeah, that's her.
They know, yeah.
But they can't say it until
they can't say it until, yeah.
I like, dude, that's it. That's that girl right there.
It's sad.
Real sad.
It's sad. And it's tragic. And it's a tragedy. And it's also sad that people of color don't get this kind of attention.
Yeah.
So
we continue to fight for like equal rights and equal treatment, and this is another example of why we continue to fight for that, and it should be evident to everyone that want to see that that's not happening. The narrative that this is America and it's the land of the free, it's the free for some, right? We free-ish.
There's limitations to our freedom.
There's limitations to our freedom. You know what I mean? Our limitations to our rights. No matter if we fight for the country, no matter if we do everything that we do for the country, no matter what we do in our communities, we're still looked at as black people. We're not looked at as people. I know some of my friends, my white friends out there, they look at me as a person, and I think some people that I associate with that don't. And it's evident on some of our interaction. You know what I mean? So, we could talk about that too,
But yeah, I think we're gonna leave it here.
Yeah, man. So just. What's y'all thoughts about this? What's your thoughts about this? That's the thing. Like, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts about backpacking, cross country? It was her fiance. They supposed to be in love. What do you do?
But usually it's the ones that's closer to you.
Yeah, true. But what's your thoughts about the comments that the young lady made? What's the young lady name again?
Joy-Ann Reid.
Joanne Reid?
Joy-Ann Reid of MSNBC.
Okay. And what's your thoughts about what she said? Love to hear what you guys think. I know it's a very controversial topic, especially when we get into the weeds of why is this covered the way it is versus if it was someone else. And this is by no means is it a slight on the young lady Gabby. It seems like she was a really sweet young lady, but it's just the coverage of how it's covered. I've yet to listen to a missing persons report or coverage that when it pertains a black person or any person of color, that the actually reporter actually says, she's she's just American. You know, she's just what America want to be like. She's out here living her life, and you know, and she seems like a really sweet young lady. But that's just not the type of words of endearment they would even say about a black person.
Well, what I've seen was, oh, they just ran away. It's like, no, they're missing. They didn't run away. They're missing. Oh, it's just a black kid that ran away from home. And it's like, it's different, man. It's different.
It is, man. It is. So, what's you guys' thoughts? What's your thoughts about it? I pray for the family. I pray for both the families. Pray for Gabby's family because you know she didn't deserve that. You know what I mean? Just if you don't want to be with her anymore, man, just take her home. Be done with it. Take a Uber. Like take a flight back, man. Let her drive back or something. Do something. Send her back on the flight.
Yeah.
If you don't want to deal with her anymore, man, and I know we're supposed to be wrapping this up, but have anybody thought that maybe this dude just went into the marsh to commit suicide because he don't want to deal with this coverage?
That's possible too.
You know what I mean?
That's very possible.
I mean, we don't know. I mean, but who's to say? Nobody know yet.
But for him to be so comfortable coming back home without her and just chilling like that,
that's wild, man. I can't imagine.
I wouldn't assume that he committed suicide. If he did that, I would assume that he feels like he could get away with it. But suicide is a possibility because now that the story is out the way it is, you know, he's probably not trying to go to jail.
Yeah, he probably went out there to get. I'm telling you, he probably went out there to be eaten by an alligator.
Probably.
Real talk.
Because that might be better than facing other dudes in jail. That
right.
You know, considering what he did.
Right.
So
wow. I mean, what if, man? I hope this isn't it, man, because I know it seems like she was kind of troubled. What if she killed herself after he left?
Well, they ruled it a homicide.
They did rule it a homicide.
Yeah, they ruled it a homicide. So somebody killed her. At least that's what they concluded from examining her body.
Yeah, this guy just ran off. I think he might have killed himself.
It's possible.
For real.
Yeah, it's possible. When we're searching for the dude, we got to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Well, if anybody here or see anything, I know there's been some reports that they seen the young man walking around and he was spotted actually at the national park down in Florida. If you see anything, please let the cops know and I pray for the family.
Definitely. Our condolences. All right. Follow us on Instagram at The Formula Production. Follow us on Twitter at The Formula Pro. Follow us on YouTube at The Formula Production. Follow the podcast. We're on Anchor Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Castbox. And any questions, comments, or concerns, hit us up.
Yeah, man.
Till next time, faith, dream, hustle, repeat.
That's the formula.